This is why your time falls apart when you're playing and you're improvising. It's because you don't practice evenness. And this is something that I learned from George Garzon years ago when I was studying with him back at Berkeley that completely transformed the way I played. And once I started practicing this way, my whole playing just completely skyrocketed because now everything I could play actually made sense. And this broke that noodling, which is that uneven, constant playing, which just sounds off, sounds all over the place, and has a very lacking rhythmic accuracy. So two things I want to show you today: how to practice evenly, removing completely the tongue, because the tongue, what it does is actually it cuts away a lot of our sound and it cuts away the evenness that should be on our fingers. So it's okay to use the tongue, you just have to use it with a more conscious way. So removing the tongue, putting the metronome at a very slow tempo, and practicing anything you're currently practicing. It doesn't matter what, it matters how. I'm going to show you that. And then working on your rhythmic accuracy and rhythmic language. Those two things are going to transform the way you play and the way you improvise. Let's get started with how to practice with the metronome. The first thing to do, grab any scale or any chords, anything you're currently working. I'm just going to grab a simple G major scale for the alto. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the metronome at around 50 BPM, and I'm going to focus on even eighth notes. That means, yes, 2 notes per beat, and I'm going to focus on the distance between each note so that the distance is perfectly even, right? So you don't want to do it unevenly. I'm going to show you actually how the uneven version sounds as well, but that's the first thing you want to do. Once you do that, then you can move on and start improvising using the metronome with no tongue and really focusing on just playing even eighth notes. Let's do it. I'm going to put the metronome on 50 BPM and play the G major scale. Now, the first thing to do is to focus on that evenness. As you've heard, I play 2 notes per beat, and what I'm doing here is really focusing on being even. So a lot of times, a lot of people practice with the metronome, but they do it wrong. They just practice, they put a metronome on, and you might be landing on the right beats, but everything in between each beat is not accurate. And this is exactly the reason why your phrases fall apart. Now, pay attention to this. I'm going to play in time, but on purpose, I'm going to play unevenly so that you hear how I kind of land on the beats, but everything in between is uneven. So you heard that. I exaggerated a little bit there, but that's what a lot of people end up doing. They put the metronome and it's like, yeah, I'm landing on the beats, but everything in between is uneven, right? And I was using no tongue, but a lot of people overuse the tongue. So the first thing to really understand here is release the tongue 100%. Two things are going to happen. You're going to really work on your sound, get at an even sound. You know, when you play a scale or when you play any passage, you want to be able to play everything in that passage evenly. That means that if you're playing maybe a low note and then a high note, you don't want the low note to all of a sudden pop and then the high note to sound squeaky or thin. Right? You want everything to sound evenly, and it's a lot easier to manage when you remove the tongue and you rely on your diaphragm and on your airflow. Make sure to check out my other video about where I'm showing you about getting a deeper sound on the saxophone and mastering your airflow. But for this, it's really important that you get that evenness in sound and, of course, in fingers. Now, a great thing I do with my coaching students is put the metronome on and don't actually blow on the horn. Simply do the fingerings and focus on being really even with the fingerings themselves. What happens is if you really focus on evenness without blowing, sometimes it's easier. Just focus on your fingers. Just like this, I'm going to play the same scale, but now I'm not going to blow. I'm just going to focus on my fingers to be really even, right? I'm going to find that perfect sweet spot where everything between each beat, it's just, I'm playing perfect eighth notes. Rushed a little bit, dragged a little bit. Now it's perfect. I can feel the evenness. I'm also focusing on not separating my fingers too much. That's it. And then you simply play it and try to get perfectly even. Here's how that sounds. You might think like that sounds sort of normal, but that was finally where I felt there's a feeling when you start playing evenly where like my fingers just move perfectly in symmetry. You know what? A lot of times you don't even need to practice this with your saxophone. If you want to practice finger evenness, simply put a metronome and tap on your desk. If you're working or doing, you don't have your saxophone around, simply do even tapping. Like if you would be a percussion player playing eighth notes, right? You put a metronome and tack, tack, tack. Try to see if you can play evenly. Don't just play quarter notes, because really the eighth notes are where you need to be playing 2 notes per beat. That's where you really test the evenness. At 50, 40, 5 BPM, even 50, 60, it's hard. Then you can speed it up a little bit, but start really slow with no tongue. Now what I'm going to do the next thing is I'm going to improvise around the G major scale. Just naturally, like I show you on my other video, where I'm just going to improvise shapes. And I'm not going to play any rhythms, just even eighth notes, but all improvised. Almost like if I would be improvising a little classical Joviola etude over just the notes of the G major scale. Now, I'm going to put the metronome and I'm going to improvise by playing even eighth notes. So here's the thing. I'm not going to worry too much about what I'm playing or what comes out. Don't worry too much if what you end up playing, it's not great. But focus on playing everything evenly, both in sound and in fingers. So even sound across all ranges and even perfect fingers. Let me do this at 60 BPM, so it's like a little bit faster. This is how that would sound. Simple like that, nothing too complicated. I'm just naturally letting my fingers go. Now, if you want to really learn how to improvise like this, just using a simple scale, make sure to watch this video right here. I'm also leaving it on the link in the description, where I'm showing you exactly how to do that and how to integrate rhythms and things like that. But that's the thing, you need to practice evenness. And this is great because you can also practice improvisation. I'm just practicing playing shapes around a resource like a scale. And I'm also using it as a technique exercise, right? It's almost like you could do this with any exercise from any book that you're playing, but you might as well also do it improvising, because improvisation also needs to be practiced. And this is a great way to do it. Grab a simple resource and see how many little phrases come out. I'm not even putting rhythm on it. I'm just trying to focus on evenness. And even what I played, the evenness was not perfect, but I know, it was as even as I could do it at that moment. And I know I can work on doing it better. And that's what I love about it. You can always work on getting even more even. And I know it sounds like it might be robotic right now, but that's the thing. Once you're able to do that, then you can add all the expression, you can add all the nuances, and everything else is going to sound so much better once you get an even playing, both in sound and fingers. Then everything else will make sense. Believe me, I would add all of these expressive elements without having a good rhythm and a good evenness, and it would all sound terrible. My playing sounded all over the place until I really started doing this, and I was like, man, everything now sounds way more cohesive and just better and even more musical. Because when you play even, all of a sudden just the simple tapping of your fingers becomes its own articulation, right? But if you're not even, it just becomes like literally noodling, what I would call it, just kind of uneven. It's like if you talk like this, right? So I feel like that's one of the most important things that you can practice. Go try it out. Just do it at the beginning of your practice. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Grab a simple scale. You can play soft, so you're working on your sound as well. By removing the tongue, you are naturally working on your sound, because without the tongue, everything else feels more compromised. So you need a good airflow. You need a lot of good technique, especially with the airflow. So make sure to watch that other video about airflow. I left it as well at the end of this video. And that's pretty much it. Then the other thing, it's rhythmic language, right? Once you get a good evenness, you need to be able to translate rhythms that you sing and then to be able to play them with anything, okay? I have more videos and I talk a lot about this on my system, on my course, and on my Improv Mastery Circle, which is translating ideas from your head with simple rhythms and just putting them on top of a resource like a G major scale. This is going to enhance your connection between rhythm and phrases and what comes out in your horn. So if I would sing right now, I'm just going to show you the most simple thing, which is sing one rhythm, right? Now I will use the tongue. I will try to not use it if I can, but I will have to use it if I think of a rhythm that will be a little bit more percussive. Very simple, like bo ba 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 do ba. How about that? 1, 2, 3, 4 ba 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 da do da. You can do it with swing or with no. You know what? Let me just do it with no swing for the purpose of this video. Ba 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 do ba. 2, 3, 4 ba 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 da do da. That's the rhythm I'm gonna do. And I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to loop it. I'm going to try to play that rhythm very evenly. And I'm going to loop it for like, right now I'm not going to do it for too long. When you practice this, do it for as long as 2 minutes. And then what I will play with that rhythm is I will simply play around the G major scale the same way I did initially. So I will play around little shapes and things like that. And I will use that rhythm. Ba, 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 da, boo, ba. I'm trying not to use the tongue as much as possible. Only use it for these percussive elements just because I'm going to sound better by it. A lot of people just overuse the tongue unnecessarily. So let's check it out. This is how I would practice it. I will put the metronome a little bit faster, maybe 70 BPM, and I'll play boo, ba, ba, do, da, and I'm going to improvise with that rhythm around the G major scale, and I'm going to focus on evenness and rhythmic precision. Now let me do it a little bit faster. I'm going to put it at 90 BPM. Now, if you notice, a lot of things happen. First of all, I was able to make that sound pretty nice. I mean, it's very simple, but a lot of people are like, oh, why can't I sound like that? It's because you have not practiced rhythmic precision. So you play it and you play it, you feel it's all over the place. So your sound is not even and your fingers are not even. See, I played very simple around the G major scale. So a few things happen. First, my connection between the rhythms that I think translated to what I play become really close together. So just by focusing on one rhythm, it's a great way to make sure you get connected to that rhythm, and all of a sudden you see how it amplified your vocabulary, even with that G major scale. Another day you can practice with another rhythm, little by little adding rhythm, not only rhythm, but rhythmic precision. You notice that I focused on not playing it like like, without no hiccups. Play it perfectly evenly. This is going to do the most benefit to your playing than ever before if you really take a few minutes to practice like this. Then once you're done with this for 10-15 minutes, then you can forget it and practice everything else. This will little by little start integrating to your playing if you practice evenness and making everything way more. You know what? It's funny because a lot of people think it's the opposite of expression, and this is actually what will make your playing expressive, because all of a sudden, it's like when you hear some people speak and they have a perfect rhythm to their voice and you're like, it's just so meaningful, right? And that's just what I want you to get with your playing, so that even if you play a simple G major scale, you have such a perfect rhythm and perfect evenness that you can sound amazing. That's what I want you to achieve, and you can do it. And this is the way I did it, which was training evenness. Just a few minutes a day, release the tongue, get a good sound, get a good airflow, put a metronome, and make that evenness go on. Then you can forget the metronome and just keep going, and you're going to get better and better at this, and you're going to see this really influence your playing, and you'll get a lot better by it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you're not a subscriber yet, please make sure to subscribe. Turn on notifications. I post videos like this every Tuesday. And if you are a saxophone player or a musician and you really want to take your playing and improvisation skills to the next level, then I want to invite you to join my Improvisation Mastery Circle. I left the link down below. This is my exclusive private community where I host my step-by-step roadmap online course. I host live group calls every single month. I do weekly post challenges and direct live feedback from me. You can post as well and you'll get feedback on your progress. So this is a great place to be if you really want to step it up and take your playing to the next level. So I left the link below on the description. You can join my Improv Mastery Circle. Hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you on the next one.